All right, hello everyone. My name is Cody, and I hope you're ready for us to play some Burn in Pioneer. Before we get into it, we're going to very quickly go over the list, any changes that we've made from last time. We were able to get a 5-0 with it last stream, and hopefully we can do that again today. So starting off, this is a companion deck. Our companion is Lurrus of the Dream Den. Lurrus has been making a lot of waves in just about every format, and it is what is kind of enabling this deck to go over the top. The main focus of the deck is to just take our opponent from 20 to 0, and we get to do that with some very aggressively costed one-drop creatures. We have Soulscar Mage and Monastery Swiftspear, two excellent 1-mana 1/2s with prowess, so whenever we cast our burn spells, they're going to be getting bigger. Monastery Swiftspear getting the benefit of haste, and Soulscar Mage getting the benefit of having our non-combat damage be dealt in -1/-1 counters, which can be super relevant, especially in certain matchups where we are going to be staring down some bigger creatures. Fortunately, no City's Blessing on this one, unfortunately. Our last one-drop creature is Get to Lava Runner. This 1-mana 1/2 can become a 2-mana 2/2 as long as we have 2 or more instants and sorceries in the graveyard. So it's kind of our budget replacement goblin guide for Pioneer. And then to round out our creatures, we have kind of these utility creatures that I call them. The first one being this Pyromancer, a 2-mana 1/2 that whenever it enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to a player or planeswalker. It's pretty good because it's essentially a 2-mana shock the turn it comes down, kind of giving it a pseudo haste, if you will. It's great because it's able to kind of ping down some planeswalkers, most notably Teferi Time Raveler. If they bring it down -3, we'll be able to finish it off just by casting our Pyromancer. The other one is Lurrus is Eidolon of the Great Revel, modern all-star. Whenever a player casts a spell with converted mana cost 3 or less, Eidolon is going to deal 2 damage to that player. This is going to be really great, especially with other Lurrus decks running around the format, as well as just most good cards in general costing 3 mana or less. So whenever this card hits the battlefield, it can very quickly take over a game. Then we have 14 burn spells. We have Wild Slash, 1 mana, deal 2 damage to any target. Has a ferocious ability, but very rarely will that matter for us. We have 3 Lightning Strikes, 2 mana, deal 3 damage to any target. And then we kind of have these, what I like to call mechanic bolts. They are essentially lightning bolts as long as we meet a condition. Most of the time, it is the mechanic from the set that they came out as. So we have Skewer the Critics, which as long as we have Spectacle, our opponent has taken damage, it is a lightning bolt. Otherwise, it costs 3. We also have Wizard's Lightning. Same deal, it is 3 mana to deal 3 damage, but if we control a wizard, it will be costing 1 red mana. And fortunately, we have 11 wizards in the deck between our Soulscar Mages, our Get to Lava Runners, and our Pyromancers. That has caused this deck online. There are some sources that are posting this list as Boros Wizards, which I think is a little bit weird. We only have 1 card in the deck that cares about wizards, and that's the Wizard's Lightning. But you may have seen similar lists online being categorized as Boros Wizards. And then over here we are rounding out our spells. We have Light Up the Stage, a 3-mana sorcery that exiles the top 2 cards of our library, and we can play those cards until the end of our next turn. But again, if we can get Spectacle online, if we can make our opponent take damage, we will get to cast it for 1 red mana. Unlike in Modern, where we are very regularly able to end the game within the first 4 turns, this deck is a little bit slower in Pioneer. Pioneer is just a bit slower of a format, so us being able to refill our hand as we enter the mid-game is going to be really important to us closing out the game. And then finally, we have Boros Charm. Most of the time, we're going to be casting it for its first ability to deal 4 damage to target player or planeswalker. Although there might be a time that we give our permanents indestructible, and very, very rarely we might give a creature double strike. Some of our creatures are very, very important to protect, such as our Eidolons, our Lurruses, things like that. So there might be an instance or two where we choose to give our permanents indestructible. Moving over here to the sideboard, of course, we have our companion, Lurrus of the Dream Den. It's going to be staying over here for the whole league. What Lurrus allows us to do is it allows us to be able to have a game plan for the mid to late game. This type of list hasn't existed before Ikoria came out, simply for the reason that the deck is not able to close out the game in the first 3 to 4 turns, and then when you enter the mid to late game, your opponent's very easily able to stabilize and then take over the game from there. What Lurrus allows us to do is play our game plan as normal. We're going to play some aggressive creatures, shoot some burn at their face or at their creatures, and then once we run out of gas in our hand, we get to cast Lurrus, get back some creatures from our graveyard, and then that's going to allow us to accumulate value throughout the mid and late game. There's going to be some matches where we don't cast Lurrus at all, and there's going to be some matchups where Lurrus is the whole reason that we are going to win. Still over here in the sideboard, we have 4 Chain to the Rocks. This is the big difference from last week. Last week we had 2 Chain to the Rocks main deck and 2 Eidolons over on the sideboard. We've decided to just be a little bit more all in on our game plan game 1. Because in our last stream, even though we had 2 Chain to the Rocks main deck, we took them out every single game. We didn't quite see the matches where they were good. So Chain to the Rocks, 1 white mana. We enchant a mountain that we control. And then when Chain to the Rocks enters the battlefield, we are going to exile a creature until Chain to the Rocks leaves the battlefield. This is great. It is our 1 mana removal. We are running 7 mountains over in our mana base. So there's a high likelihood that we are going to get to cast our Chain to the Rocks. Chain to the Rocks is going to be great in the Saram Auras matchup where they make 1 creature really big that we're not going to be able to kill with direct damage. So being able to exile it for 1 mana is going to be great. Also going to be good against things like Uro and other really, really big creatures that we are just not able to deal with otherwise. We have 3 Searing Bloods. Searing Blood is great because it allows us to interact with the board while also still doing our game plan of dealing damage to our opponent. Sometimes this deck can run out of steam because you're being forced to answer threats on board, and then you don't have enough density of spells to close out the game. So Searing Blood is going to help us kind of close that gap by killing creatures and then dealing damage directly to our opponent. We have 2 Deflecting Palm. Deflecting Palm is, again, really great in the Saram Auras matchup or any other type of matchup where we're going to see some really big creatures. Deflecting Palm works great with creatures with lifelink because we're going to be preventing that damage. Also going to be great because this card does not target any permanent at all. It does not target your opponent, does not target their creature. I have seen some people in response to a Deflecting Palm try to cast a God's Willing or a Karametra's Blessing to give their permanent protection or hexproof, and that's not going to do anything with Deflecting Palm because we choose a source. We are not targeting a single thing. And then to round out our sideboard, we have 3 Wear and Tear. Wear and Tear is going to be great. It is a 1-card answer to all of the problematic artifacts and enchantments that we will be seeing. That can be some of the things, again, out of Saram Auras. Can be, there are some of the, not Paradox Engine, the new card from Ikoria, Song of Creation. We've seen some of those decks. So being able to, for 1 white, destroy an enchantment, or for 1 in a red, destroying an artifact, that's going to be pretty helpful in those matchups. And then finally, we have 2 Grafdigger's Cages. 1 mana artifact, when it is in play, creature cards from graveyards and libraries can't enter the battlefield, and then players can't cast spells from their graveyard or library. This will work out great for any graveyard strategy. Stops Uro from being escaped. It is going to stop any opposing Lurrus deck from getting any of their cards out of the graveyard. Also has some utility against things like Spirits, where if they cast a Collected Company, they're not going to be able to put anything into play. Also going to do great against the Abzan Rally the Ancestors deck that I've seen pick up a little bit of steam over the last couple of weeks. And then both Grafdigger's Cage and Chain to the Rocks have very nice interactions with Lurrus, where if they are able to answer a Grafdigger's Cage or a Chain to the Rocks, we'll just be able to get them right back. Yeah, Uro just wants to escape, but is being held back by a very tiny cage. Now, part of the sideboard plan for any burn deck, no matter in what format you're in, you want it to be either doing what your main game plan is, such as the case with Searing Blood, right, where we're still trying to deal damage directly to our opponent. But what I've seen some other lists that are similar to this running sideboard cards that kind of help out in matchups that we're already pretty favored against. My opinion is when you're sideboarding with Burn, you want to either have cards like Searing Blood that are on your game plan, or sideboard cards that are just so backbreaking that they swing the whole game in your favor, right? So if we Chain to the Rocks our Saram Aura's opponent, they've put all those enchantments on one creature, and we've just been able to take them all out with one card. That's a big enough effect that we can afford to run a card that doesn't deal any damage to our opponent. Same thing with Grafdigger's Cage. Against the Rally the Ancestors deck, if we just play Grafdigger's Cage, their whole game plan is turned off. It's one card that's functionally shutting down their whole deck. So that's kind of my philosophy when it comes to sideboarding with Burn, is that you want your sideboard cards to just be so potently powerful that it doesn't matter that it's not part of your main game plan. All right, and with that, I think we are going to jump into our league. We have 2 trophies with this deck already, one off stream and then one from our stream on Wednesday. Let's hope that we can get another 5-0 or something close. While we're locating our opponent, you may notice down beneath the Twitch stream, I have updated how the channel looks. I have the social medias linked, as well as a streaming schedule on there as well. We're going to hopefully be streaming 3 times per week on Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. So should be a good time. We have lost the die roll, as is tradition. Going to reveal all our Lurrus. All right, we are playing against a Lurrus deck as well. So, unfortunately, that doesn't mean anything, right? Last league, we thought that we were up against either the Saram Aura's deck or another Lurrus Burn deck, but could really just be anything. Regardless, I think this is a pretty solid hand. We have some good creatures. We have a Boros Charm, 3 lands. Can't complain. We are going to keep it. We are going to pass through this turn. All right, it looks like we are playing the mirror match. Unfortunately for us, we do not have any direct damage spells in our hand. It'd be really nice to answer the Swift Spear on turn 1. Another land. We're going to play our own Soulscar Mage. I'm anticipating them killing our Soulscar Mage and attacking for 2, but we will see. Fortunately, they have a Battlefield Forge, which means they'll be taking some damage off of their lands. Oh no, 10th Digit Legionnaire. It looks like we are up against the Boros Heroic deck. Also might be called the Boros Feather. They're attacking for 2, and we are going to take it. So that's a little more fortunate for us because they're not going to be dealing as much direct damage to us. They're just going to be trying to make one creature really big. So this Eidolon, not that bad of a draw. We are going to probably play it, but I think what we'll do first is I think we're going to attack with the Soulscar Mage. If they block with their Monastery Swift Spear, we might just Boros Charm to get the Swift Spear off of the battlefield. Oh no, but we can't. We don't have white mana. Doesn't matter. We get in for 1, and then we are going to slam down this Eidolon. Another Battlefield Forge. Even though we don't have removal in our hand, they're taking quite a bit of damage off of their lands, and they're going to be taking plenty of damage off of this Eidolon, which is really good for us. Can definitely tell that they are in the tank. And with only 4 cards in hand, I'm curious what they have, if they have more creatures or if they just have a bunch of interactive spells. All right, we're going to combat. I don't think we're going to be blocking with anything. This Eidolon is a little too important to keep alive. We'll probably be taking somewhere around 5 damage because I assume they're going to play something to buff up both of these creatures. Ooh, a Reckless Rage. That is really good. They're going to get our Eidolon off of the battlefield, and then they are going to be hitting us for 5 damage. And then they are going to be playing a Dreadhorde Arcanist. That is pretty good because that is going to allow them to get back this Reckless Rage on their next turn. So if we draw removal, we might just remove the Dreadhorde Arcanist. Swiftspear's a fine draw. What we may do is we're going to have to shock in the Sacred Foundry, unfortunately, putting us to 10. We'll play the Swiftspear. Now we have the option to play this Pyromancer, get them to 12, and then have a whole bunch of blockers. Something that I'm thinking about is using giving our permanents indestructible, and then that'll allow us to maybe double block this Dreadhorde Arcanist, get it off the battlefield, double block this 10th District Legionnaire. Really just depends on what they do, but at the very least, we can block 2 creatures and not take any damage. So I think that's going to be what we end up doing, because we can't afford to swing out and hope to play this light up the stage. And like, we really got to try to stabilize the board because their creatures are going to outgrow ours pretty quickly. In a bit of a rough spot coming off of game 1. Right, going to be casting this Reckless Rage, no doubt targeting their 10th District Legionnaire. Fortunately, what this means is that Legionnaire is going to have 2 damage assigned to it, although it'll be a 4/4, so we can block it with our Swiftspear and hopefully kill it that way. Yeah, targeting the Legionnaire, and that is targeting our Soulscar Mage. They are scrying, and they put 1 on the bottom. All right, now here we're going to have to play this Boros Charm to give permanents indestructible. Although, unfortunately, they do have 3 mana up still, so there's a potential that they really build up their creatures and make it so we don't get to trade with anything. But us getting to blank this Reckless Rage is going to be really nice for us. A God's Willing. All right, so they're making sure that they're getting in with that 10th District Legionnaire. Hitting us for 6. Not the best. Putting us to 4 is not a good spot. We're definitely going to need to draw some removal for this Dreadhorde Arcanist on our next turn, or else we are not winning this game. Fortunately, we get to survive that Reckless Rage. Now, how are we going to block is the question. They're hitting us for 5 for sure, because we cannot block there. We could double block the Swiftspear, get that off the battlefield, or we could double block this Dreadhorde Arcanist to try to get that off the battlefield. But then if they play another spell that targets their 10th District Legionnaire, that'll be the game, because they'll be hitting us for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They'll hit us for 10, so we might have to just block 1 each, but if we don't draw removal for this Arcanist, we're dead anyway. So we're going to take a chance, block this Arcanist, and hope that they don't have anything else in hand. Doesn't look like it. Oh, they're Boros Charming us. So looks like we have lost game 1, unfortunately. Let's see. We weren't going to draw removal for the Arcanist anyway. So just a little, we just didn't quite have enough interaction for that game. So what we're going to bring in, we're definitely bringing in these Deflecting Palms. You saw how big that 10th District Legionnaire got. So being able to slam that back at them is going to be really nice. And again, this Deflecting Palm is going to get around their God's Willing. We're going to bring in these 3 Searing Bloods because we want to be able to answer those creatures when they're small. The question is, do we bring in these Chain to the Rocks? We definitely want to have answers to their permanents because unlike us, all of our spells are dealing damage to them. All of their spells aren't really dealing damage to us. So these Chain to the Rocks might not be a bad idea. Let's see what we're going to be taking out. I want to trim on Eidolons. Eidolon is good if they are casting a bunch of spells. Although, unfortunately, in this matchup, our life total really matters. You can see how they can hit us for 10 to 14 damage in one turn. So I definitely don't want to be bringing our life total too low. So we're going to get rid of those. We'll probably trim a Light Up the Stage. And we'll probably get rid of these Pyromancers. These Pyromancers don't seem very well positioned for this matchup. A 2-mana 2/1 is not what we're wanting to do. We'll bring in a Chain to the Rocks. And I think I'm going to trim 1 Lightning Strike for a second Chain to the Rocks. So we're bringing in 7 cards of interaction, taking out some of our slower creatures and slower burn spells. So hopefully that, along with us being on the play, is going to set us up for success for this game. Four lands, but we have a Soulscar Mage, a Wild Slash, and a Light Up the Stage. Why not do all the Chain to the Rocks? That is something that we definitely could do, and that might just be more correct, especially over like Searing Blood. I'm always hesitant to dilute our game plan by bringing in 9 cards, but this might just be the matchup where that might be necessary. We are going to keep this hand. We definitely need all of the resources available to us. What I can see happening, we play Soulscar Mage, they play something, we Wild Slash it, and then get to Light Up the Stage on that turn, on our second turn, which will be great. Starting off Inspiring Vantage for sure. All right, their mana base is a lot less painful this time. So we are 100% going to Wild Slash this Monastery Swiftspear. Or we could Lightning Strike it. We could play this Battlefield Forge, Lightning Strike the Swiftspear, attack for 2. I think because shields are going to be down next turn, we're going to be tapping out regardless. So I think the worst thing that they could play next turn would be a 10th District Legionnaire, but then they're tapping out to play that, which means we can Lightning Strike it next turn. So I think we'll shock in the Sacred Foundry, Wild Slash their Swiftspear, and then cast this Light Up the Stage. Then cast with Spectacle. See what we get. A Skewer the Critics is very nice. So is that in Inspiring Vantage, meaning we can get to 3 mana where we can probably cast both of these next turn if we need to. Or depending on what they play, we might save this Lightning Strike and just tap 3 for the Skewer the Critics. We definitely want to make sure we have answers to the threats that they're playing. They are not attacking, which means they probably have some sort of protection spell in their hand, something like a God's Willing, something like that. So we're going to play the Inspiring Vantage. Now, this is where it gets interesting. We could cast our Lightning Strike or our Skewer the Critics and hope to get the Swiftspear off the board. But if they have a God's Willing in their hand, then they blank our spell, they blank our attack, which I'm not a huge fan of. So what we might do is, I think we'll attack with the Soulscar Mage. If they block it, we might just let it bounce and then cast the Skewer the Critics. But if they block and then try to pump to kill our Soulscar Mage, then we'll pump with our Lightning Strike to kill it. Because we need to deal damage to cast this Skewer the Critics. I think we're going to go ahead and cast this Lightning Strike. Because at the very least, we get to deal 3 damage to them, which will allow us to cast our Skewer the Critics for 1 mana. And if they pump, it's fine, because their pump will not be able to kill our Soulscar Mage. Ooh, Light of Hope. They gain 4 life. I see. I bet if we went to go remove their creature with our Lightning Strike, they would have put the 1/1 counter on it. Or they might still have a God's Willing in hand. Who knows? That's an interesting card. So, unfortunately, this Skewer does not have... is not an instant, so we're not going to be able to kill this Swift Spear. But the question is, do we Skewer the Swift Spear or do we Skewer them? Part of me wants to Skewer them, but I also know that the way we lose the game, here's how we lose, is that they stick a couple creatures and we're unable to answer them. So I think we need to prioritize getting the Swift Spear off of the battlefield. Definitely not a great turn for us, but let's see if they have a good follow-up, because if they don't, we're going to be in a good spot. Favorite Hoplite. That's a good follow-up. And a 10th District Legionnaire. Ugh. So fortunately, they are tapped out, though. If we can draw some interaction, we can remove... Probably the Favored Hoplite's a little bit harder to get rid of because of its ability that prevents all damage that would be dealt to it. Here's what we're going to do. We're just going to attack. See if they block. They are not blocking. We'll go ahead and Boros Charm them for 4. Fortunately, they have 1 card in hand. They'll have 2 next turn, which means they might not have a whole bunch of pumps or a bunch of non-creature spells to make these guys really, really big. So we might be able to next turn slam down our Lurrus and then start recovering from there. We'll play a Sacred Foundry tapped. And then let's see what they got. It's not looking good for us right now. Another 10th District. Put a 1/1 counter on up to 2 target creatures. That's really good. So they are going to be hitting us for 7. Quite a bit of damage. No. Wow. Oh, because it... Why does it get 2 counters? Oh, because they... Card for battle. Yeah, my draws have not been super duper. We've gotten a lot of our deal damage to them spells, not a lot of our creature interaction. Which, hello Nikachu, thank you for joining. Wizard's Lightning. A little too late. Fortunately, we can shrink one of these 10th District Legionnaires next turn. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to cast our Lurrus. Just get it on to the battlefield. Good news is we'll be able to, hopefully, fingers crossed, gain 3 life from it. And then we can cast this Wizard's Lightning to maybe shrink a 10th District Legionnaire. Because they are empty-handed, so the chances that they... Although they've been scrying cards... They've been scrying cards to the bottom, though, so there's a decent chance that they don't have anything good. We'll have to see. Let's see. I think the plan will be... Let's see if they attack with everything. Okay. They don't... I don't know if they have anything, because I would imagine they would just swing out if they had something. So I think the plan is going to be... We will block like this. Do we want to block with this Lurrus? I don't know if we do. Because there's no way for us to get any value off this Lurrus. It'll just be us gaining 3 life. But I think we'll block here. We'll Wizard's Lightning that 10th District. Okay, favorite Hoplite. They do not have anything. Oh, we lost our wizard. Oh, no. Oh, that's a punt. That's a big punt. Oh. All right, we're going to recast our Soulscar Mage. That's a really big punt. I feel not great about that. All right, I think we're going to have to put this Lurrus on blocking duty next turn, unfortunately. All right. Yeah, they're coming in with everything. They're forcing us to have to block. We have enough mana that I might just pass priority to see if they pump. Because if they go to pump something, we'll Wizard's Lightning whatever they target. Because if they try to pump one of these hoplites, then we lose the game. Yeah, I am showing you what not to do, right? Don't forget that you have to have a wizard for Wizard's Lightning to cost 1. Okay. We will Wizard's Lightning here. Because if they had something, they would have cast it. Because they would have won the game. Although, we still probably lose this game. Because if we draw a... Really, they had a Titan Strength the whole time. Huh. Alright, that's probably the game then. Even if we draw some removal for one of these creatures, there's no way we're going to be able to not take 4 damage next turn. Yeah, a little too late. Alright, didn't get their game, or round 1, but that's okay. We'll be hopefully having some better luck here for the next match. There should be a Twitch extension that I have that has the deck list as well as the sideboard. So if you're just now joining us, there is where you can find the list that we are playing. So we didn't see a ton of our sideboard cards that game too. We didn't see any of our Chain to the Rocks, our Searing Bloods, anything like that. Our Deflecting Palms. Deflecting Palm would have been great there in those last couple of turns. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense that we had so many cards in hand that they're just trying to play around multiple interactions, right? Yeah, so if they go pump and we go kill it, and then they go pump and we go kill it, that would be a very big swing for us. We did win the die roll, so we are going to be on the play. Let's see if we are up against a companion deck. I'm going to imagine yes. Another Lurrus deck. Now, do we assume that this is another Boros type deck, that this is SRAM Auras, or do we assume that this is something else? This one looks a lot better than last time because we still get to go turn 1 creature into turn 2 interaction. So we are going to keep this hand. And if this is the SRAM Auras matchup, we get to use this light up the stage to hopefully find more interaction. See what we're up against. All right, this is the league of us playing against red decks. So they didn't cast anything, meaning they probably have something like a Wild Slash in hand. So I think what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and I really want to play one of these light up the stages. So I think the plan is going to be we're going to attack, see if they go to kill it. If they do, we'll Wild Slash them to keep our Soulscar Mage alive. And then we'll still be able to cast a light up the stage. Okay, nothing. Alright, so we'll cast one of these light up the stages right now. And see, now if we get a land, we'll get to play it. So I think we'll hold off on the Get to Lava Runner. Again, this is something that I said in the last stream. We're not going to get to attack with Get to Lava Runner until next turn anyway. And if we hold up this Wild Slash, it'll get to come down with haste. So this way we're allowing ourselves to answer whatever it is they play and then be able to get in with our Lava Runner next turn. They're playing a Soulscar Mage. Let's see. They're not attacking. Do they have interaction, I guess is the question. We'll go to the end step. And then we'll Wild Slash their Soulscar Mage. If they have something, they're forced to use it to save their Soulscar Mage. But because of our Soulscar Mage, it's going to then be a 0-1 on our turn. What are they Wizards Lightning? Wizards Lightning our Soulscar Mage. Oh, but it... Jeez. Not super tight gameplay from me today. So we'll cast our Lava Runner. We'll go to attack. We're going to get in. Alright, we're going to cast the Slide up the stage. Because we need to get some interaction. We're going to cast both of them. A Lightning Strike. Hitting lots of lands, but that's okay. They're playing a Pyromancer. All right. A Boros Charm. I think what we'll do is we have a couple of options. We can play a land, Lightning Strike down their Soulscar Mage, or we could shock in a Sacred Foundry, which would then allow us to get to play Lurrus and then get back our Soulscar Mage. Put some blockers in the way. We'll just have to see, because they also have Lurrus mana, so there's a decent chance that if we kill the Soulscar Mage, they just next turn go Lurrus, get it back. So that's the spot that we're at. We're gonna play this Mountain because we definitely want to have access to 4 mana, unless we want to play Lurrus. I don't think we do. I think we're gonna go Mountain, and we will go to attack. Because we need to apply some pressure. We can't have them staying up as close to 20 while we wait and then they get to blow us out. That block is fine. We'll go ahead and Lightning Strike this Soulscar Mage. And then we'll hold up a Boros Charm. Fortunately, since we have 2 Boros Charms, I feel pretty confident using it to deal 4 damage. And then maybe we can save the second one to protect our Lurrus here a couple turns from now. Okay, so they're casting their Lurrus. Probably going to get back a Soulscar Mage. Yep. We will Boros Charm them. It'd be really nice to draw a Wild Slash or something like that so we can get their Lurrus off the table, because next turn they're going to be able to get back that Pyromancer. All right. So we are getting their Lurrus off the battlefield. Because especially if they start gaining life, then the whole game is over. And I think we're going to do what they just did. We'll cast our Lurrus. So this is where that attrition-based matchup comes in, right? Like, you would think that these are just 2 aggro decks against each other, but like, we're already on turn 5, and both of us are still over 10 life. So this is definitely a bit more of an interactive game. We're going to get back our Soul Scar Mage because I want to leave it on blocking duty. And then next turn we can get back the Lava Runner and swing in for hopefully quite a bit of damage. You can infer a bit about their hand, the fact that last turn they decided to go Lurrus, get back a creature. Okay. Right, so the fact that they cast their Lurrus last turn when they had 5 cards in hand meant that they did not have anything else worth playing, because I feel with this deck, you're casting Lurrus as a bit of a last resort. You've exhausted the resources in your hands, and you're using Lurrus to hopefully gain some more advantage, right? That's what we did. We had some lands and a Boros Charm in hand. So us getting to cast our Lurrus and get back creatures is allowing us to amass a bit of a board presence as opposed to just dealing 4 damage and passing the turn. So we definitely got lucky that they didn't have an answer to our Lurrus, and we were just going to take over the game from there. Searing Blood is going to be excellent for this matchup, because if you notice, all the cards in our deck have a toughness of 2. Let's see. I like taking out Eidolon against the Mirror, because chances are they are leaving their Eidolons in, and whoever, if like we're trying to hit multiple Eidolons on the field, it really isn't best for us, because I don't really like us taking 2 damage for every spell that we play, because in the Mirror matchup, our life total is so important that even though it's possible that we get really lucky and they keep a hand of all 1-drops and Eidolon proves to have a lot of value, there's an equal chance that they choose to play at instant speed and force us to take damage off of our own Eidolon, which is not something I am super interested in. We could bring in a Grafdigger's Cage, but I really like getting to play our Lurrus, so I think what we'll do is we'll bring in 1 Chain to the Rocks. I feel comfortable cutting a Boros Charm for a 2nd Chain to the Rocks. If we're going to bring in a card that we have a play set of, I want to be bringing in at least 2 of them. All right, we are currently in round 2 of our league. We lost the first round against Boros Heroic, Boros Feather, and we are currently up a game in match number 2. We are in the Mirror match, a Lurrus Mirror. All right, this hand, pretty good. We have several 1-drops. We have a bunch of creatures, right? This game is won and lost based on who can amass a board state first. Right, as you could tell from that game, that game won. The second we had a board state they couldn't answer, they just conceded on the spot. So us having multiple creatures, and if we can get them to spend some of their early interaction answering our creatures, that's going to be really good for us. See, I can just tell by them playing this mountain, they either don't have a 1-drop or they are planning on killing our 1-drop. So we're going to cast this Swift Spear and hopefully get in for 1. Okay. So we'll see what they do next turn. But if they play a creature, our plan is going to be play Soulscar Mage, Wizard's Lightning, whatever they play. An Ash Zealot. See, okay, Ash Zealot is one of those cards that, from our deck tech portion, is one of those sideboard cards that I get why it's in there, but I don't feel like it does enough against our bad matchups. Like, for example, they're playing this, so if we cast our Lurrus, we take a bunch of damage off of it. But what is that? Is that so backbreaking to our deck that it's worth sideboarding in? I don't think so, right? Like, we're going to kill it immediately. So that's just my opinion on it, that I don't think that this Ash Zealot is backbreaking enough in the matchups where it matters. Or, sorry, it is backbreaking against, like, Lotus Breach, right? But I don't think that this card is shoring up a matchup that is inherently bad for us anyway. So we're just going to kill that and then pass the turn. All right. Are they shock? They're shocking in the Sacred Foundry. Ooh, they hard cast a Wizard's Lightning. That feels really nice. So it looks like they kept a very interactive hand. So what we're going to be able to do is I'm just going to slam down. I'm going to slam down this Pyromancer. And then what the plan for next turn will be is we'll get to play a Get to Lava Runner. And assuming we don't draw a land, then we'll cast the Wizard's Lightning and attack for 2. But we'll see what they do. 1 Blood Crypt. That's interesting. I don't know what that Blood Crypt would be for. That is really... Okay, excellent. We got an Inspiring Vantage. So what we're going to do is we're going to Wizard's Lightning them for 1 mana. And then we are going to get to swing in with 2 Hasty Lava Runners. Wild Slashing our Pyromancer, which is fine. Wild Slashing, or Lightning Striking our Lava Runner, which is fine. And then we're going to get in there for 2. So hopefully this kind of shows the way that we want this. Like, this game has pretty much gone exactly the way that we wanted it to, right? They have just been spending their whole hand to just deal with our board state. And we had so many creatures that now they have 1 card in hand. And they're really like, we're still at 18. They've been answering all of our creatures, but we have them at 11. And we have so many targets for our Lurrus if we can draw another land. A Chain to the Rocks. Interesting. We drew a land, so we're going to go Lurrus Lava Runner. And, well, do we want to do that? Because they have a Wizard's Lightning that they can just use to kill our Lurrus. Then they'll deploy their Lurrus and get back like this Ash Zealots, and then we'll be in trouble. So I think what we'll do is we will just pass the turn. We have this Lightning Strike that we get to play. So if they cast their Lurrus, we'll kill it immediately. And after this turn, they won't get to cast this Wizard's Lightning. They're playing the Lava Runner. They're probably going to cast that Wizard. No, a Swift Spear. And a Wizard's Lightning coming at us. They have 4 mana. I think the play is going to be to just take 4 here and then go Lurrus into 1 drop. Because I want to save this Lightning Strike for their Lurrus, if that makes sense. Because if we Lightning Strike this Swift Spear to save us 2 damage, the next turn they just go Lurrus, Swift Spear, right? So I think we're just going to take this. Our life total is still pretty good enough that we can afford to take a little bit of damage. Sacred Foundry. So we are hopefully going to turn the corner real quick. We're going to go Sacred Foundry tapped. Bring out our Lurrus. Get to use the colorless off the Battlefield Forge, which is very, very, very fortunate. And then I think we will bring down the Soul Scar. We'll bring down the Get to Lava Runner. Because at the very least, we get to trade our Lava Runner with their Lava Runner. Because they're only going to have one card next turn. So now we are pretty fine trading resources with them. Hoping that our Lurrus lives to next turn. If it does, we're going to get back the Pyromancer. So that way we can deal 2 damage to them, hold the Pyromancer up as a blocker. Okay, so their plan is to cast Lurrus and get back this Lava Runner. So we're going to be fine blocking here because now that we are even on life, we're pretty fine. Or we don't want to be taking 2 damage for no reason, right? Yes, they're just going to get back their Lava Runner with this Lurrus, but we're okay with that. Yep. Just as I suspected. So we are 100% going to kill their Lurrus this turn. We need to get that off of the battlefield. And then we're going to get back our Pyromancer. That puts us a little bit ahead on life. And this is where the Pyromancer is really going to start pulling its weight, right? So we get to deal 2 damage to them. And then we get to block with it, right, to save us from taking damage. And then we're just going to cast it next turn, giving us a blocker and dealing 2 damage to them. So this can be a way for us to kind of grind out the game. They have a Soulscar Mage. Okay. And they're going to attack. Ooh, they're not attacking. So they don't... I'm going to assume they're either sandbagging a land to make it look like they have something, or they might have something very specific, like a light up the stage, or something that they don't want to tap out to play. But let's see what we draw. Boros Charm. That is an excellent draw. We are at 11. I just want to make sure we don't overcommit. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. We're going to attack with our Pyromancer. Because if they block it, great. We're just going to recast it and deal 2 more damage to them. If they don't block it, great. That means we've dealt 2 damage to them. And then we get to bring something else back from the graveyard to leave on blocking duty. So they're blocking with their Swift Spear. I'm going to imagine we're going to see some sort of spell cast now, maybe, to prowess it up. To make or that they could just be making a trade. We'll have to see. Okay. We're just going to recast the Pyromancer. Deal 2 damage to them. And then we're going to hang on to this Boros Charm. What the Boros Charm is going to allow us to do is protect our creatures. Because if they have an answer to Lurrus, that definitely grinds us to a bit of a halt. So being able to save it is going to be worth not dealing 4 damage to them. Them not attacking, again, makes me see that they don't have any interaction. But we also have enough lands that I don't plan on casting this Boros Charm. Mountain. We're going to do the same thing again. We're going to attack with this Pyromancer. So the plan will hopefully be that we can win by next turn. They're taking 2 this turn regardless, right? They're either going to not block and take 2, or we're going to recast the Pyromancer and then they'll take 2. So we have them at 5. A Boros Charm. Permanents they control gain indestructible. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Double block. Okay, they're just assuming I might have some trickery. And we're just going to immediately recast it. Putting them to 5. So if we draw any form of interaction, we win next turn. Or if we are able to... I don't know. It depends on if they try to remove our Lurrus. If they don't have an answer to our Lurrus, we're going to win the game. Because we'll attack with the Pyromancer, they'll block, we'll recast it, we'll cast Boros Charm. Wizard's Lightning is coming at our Lurrus. I think this is the type of situation where we need to give our permanents indestructible. There is a chance they have something else in hand, and that in response to this, they'll just kill the Lurrus again, which would not be great for us. But, this is an interesting spot. I can see an argument either way. If we save the Lurrus, assuming that we get to save the Lurrus, we'll be able to continue to eke out value from this Pyromancer, but we can put them at 1. And I definitely like putting them at 1, and they're not going to be able to win the game in the next turn or two, so we'll let this happen. As much as I don't want to, we're going to let this happen. See if we can get them. Oh, they are feeling very brave, which I think means they do have another burn spell in their hands. So I feel better about not casting the Boros charm, because if they're brazenly swinging in, that means that they're not blocking our Pyromancer, which means that if we draw a burn spell, that we would win the game. So I'm assuming they have some kind of interaction. We have enough mana that 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. We're gonna go ahead and Boros charm them. Just want to make sure we have enough mana to deal the damage that we need to deal to them. Chain to the rocks. Let's see if they got something. They don't. All right. So we got that one 2-0. Very nice. We were able to get there. We are currently 1-1. We are up a game against the mirror match, another Lurrus burn deck, and then we lost round 1 against Boros Heroic, Boros Feather, although I don't even know if that deck is still running Feather. So, getting into game 3. We won the die roll. See, that's the difference between this league and last league. Last league, we lost every die roll and went 5-0. This league, we've been winning more die rolls. They do not have a companion. That means that their deck is either... We might be up against Lotus Breach. Lotus Breach is one of the few strong decks that's not running a companion. And this... We have a 1-lander and we're on the play. We do have plenty of 1-drops, but if this is Lotus Breach, we are not going to win with this hand. And if it's some other deck, I still think we can do with a better 6. If this is Lotus Breach, this Eidolon is going to be fantastic. We're going to put a Battlefield Forge on the bottom. We'll have access to double white for our Lurrus. Let's see what we're up against. Forest. So this still could be Lotus Breach. They do play forests. I think, or to me, just forest shows that they might not have the interaction that they need to answer this Eidolon. So we're just gonna go ahead and play it. Yep, this is most definitely. We see blue and green. We might even see a Gross Spiral here at the end of turn. We're gonna play a mountain, play this Pyromancer, or here we're gonna attack first, because if they do kill the Eidolon, then cool, we get to play this Pyromancer for no damage, making their life a little bit harder. And if they don't, then we're still gonna play the Pyromancer. Oh, another Rivulet. And this says Pilgrimage. This might be the Simic ramp deck. Okay. Let's see. Depends on what they play next turn. If they slam down something big and scary, then we're going to be in trouble. Since we have just lands in hand, the plan is going to be attack. And I do we cast our Lurrus? If they play something, well, let's see, what could they play that's big and scary next turn? There's a lot of creatures, but nothing that wipes our board, I feel, so I'm going to feel okay playing Lurrus. Just because we want to have something on the battlefield. Multiple things on the battlefield, so even if they do play something big and scary, we can attack through it. Cavalier of Thorns. Put the top 5 cards of your library, put a land into the battlefield. Okay, and we win the game. Right, because that's 2, 4, 5 damage that we'll be dealing. And we were drawing a bunch of lands. All right, these Chain to the Rocks are going to be excellent. Because this Simic ramp deck is just going to be playing a bunch of big, scary creatures that we are not going to be able to answer with our burn spells. This is probably the matchup for Deflecting Palm, too. So what are we going to take out? I think Eidolon is a safe thing to take out. Yes, they're going to be casting a couple low CMC spells like a Growth Spiral, Anissa's Pilgrimage, but our life total is going to be important because they're going to be playing these big 5-6 creatures, these very, very large attackers, and us taking a bunch of chip damage from our 1-mana spells is not going to be great for us. So for the same reason, Searing Blood is not coming in. All of their stuff is too big. They're not really utilizing the graveyard. Grafdigger's Cage is mediocre value, and I really want to be bringing in sideboard cards when they give us a ton of value. And then I don't think they have any artifacts and enchantments for wear and tear. We need to cut 2 more cards. I think we'll cut a... So us having that aggressive start means that I think Pyromancer is pretty good. I think we'll trim a Light Up the Stage, and we'll trim a Lightning Strike. Those are kind of our slower cards, and we definitely need to have very fast, aggressive starts. All right, this is so medium. I mean, like, we have 4 1-drops, right? Like, that's fantastic. 4 1-drops, we have our sideboard card in Deflecting Palm. Like, if we draw a second land, we're going to be really punching through some damage. But if we don't, we're probably just going to lose the game. So, how confident do I feel that we're going to draw a land in the first 2 draws? I am going to keep it. We can afford to miss a land drop on turn 2 if we can draw a land on turn 3. Breeding Pool tapped. Got there. Excellent. We'll shock in the Sacred Foundry. I think we are going to... We're going to play the Swift Spear so we can start hitting in damage. Sometimes there's an argument to playing the Soulscar Mage first. That way next turn we could go Soulscar Mage... Sorry. There's an argument to play Soulscar Mage first. That way next turn we can play Swift Spear plus a 1-drop attack for 4. But since we don't have a 1-drop burn spell currently, I'm not going to bank on us drawing one. Spatial Contortion. And that Blast Zone is going to be a little problematic. They need to get 2 more lands into play, which they can do very, very quickly to blow up all these 1-drops. So, fortunately, we do have a Boros Charm to save all of them, right? This is one of those deals where in Pioneer, we definitely find ourselves using the give our permanents indestructible a bit more than we would be otherwise. Just because us saving 3 1-drops is going to be pretty major. So we're going to go Soulscar Mage and Lava Runner. Uro. Ugh. Uro is pretty good. And that puts them at Blast Zone mana next turn. So, we didn't draw a land. So I think we are going to... We could go Wild/Lightning Strike, make Lava Runner a 2/2, and then get in for 3 with that Soulscar Mage, which might just be worth it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 10 damage. Going to put him to 12. I think that's going to be what we're going to do. So they're not close to escaping their Uro. But if they do, what this Deflecting Palm is going to do is it's essentially going to negate the Uro gaining 6 life. Because it's going to hit them for 6, and they'll have gained 6 by playing it and then attacking. Anissa who shakes the world. That's pretty good. And they're getting in for 3. See what we draw. Swift Spear. I think I don't. This is tough, right? Because they can very easily just activate this Blast Zone next turn if we go Lava Runner Swift Spear, and that's a huge blowout, right? They're getting 4 damage off of the battlefield, or they're getting four creatures off of the battlefield. But if we don't, we're not really hitting them for much. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So what we can do is, if we go Lava Runner Swift Spear and we attack, we're going to be dealing 4 damage to them. Then with our Boros Charm, that's another 4, so that's 8. And then that Deflecting Palm, even if we're just Deflecting Palming a forest, that's 3 damage to them. That's 11 damage total. So we need to be thinking about the end game, because the more time we give them, the closer they're going to get to just casting a bunch of Uros. And if they spend a lot of their mana to blow up this Blast Zone, that means they're not doing much else. So I think this is the best route to victory, is for us to kind of press the issue and hope to outpace what they're trying to do. We're just going to pass the turn through it. Oof, another Uro is pretty rough. And they still have mana to activate this Blast Zone, unfortunately. Okay. Anissa's Pilgrimage. Ugh. A Wild Slash. 4, 5, 6. So we can deal 6 damage to them over the course of the next 2 turns. That gets them to 6. Our Deflecting Palm can kind of answer Uro. We're not in the best spot. We're just going to have to pass the turn. Fortunately, we can play it at instant speed. This is definitely a tougher matchup. What Uro does, or no, they're just going to win the game, because that forces us to Deflecting Palm one of these forests, because we're just going to lose the game right now if we don't. Although we still lose the game, never mind. And then we, all right. All right, so these Grafdigger's Cages are going to be necessary to deal with Uro. I definitely do not want them escaping Uro. We'll get rid of... Deflecting Palm is going to be fine. I think they took out some of their bigger creatures in the sideboard, so we might take out... We'll bring in 1 cage, trim 1 palm. Because we definitely don't want to draw a bunch of Grafdigger's Cages, because they didn't really do a whole lot with their graveyard that last game, but I want to have something that might just shuts off Uro. We cannot cast anything. We can cast things. We're going to keep it. Now, we got to put something on the bottom. Fortunately, we can kind of cast everything in our hand. Our creatures are in a bit of a weird spot, right? Like, the creatures allow us to get repeatable damage to help close out the game. But a Blast Zone can answer all of it. And if we're just too slow, because we're going to be playing 2 creatures at sorcery speed that we're going to have to wait a whole turn before they can attack. So, like, us not dealing damage on turn 1, dealing 1 damage on turn 2. So I might put a Lava Runner back, but I think we'll... I don't know. This is a tough decision. I'm kind of stuck between the Skewer the Critics and the Grafdigger's Cage. Because there's a chance that we don't get to activate the Skewer anytime soon. And actually cast it. And there's also a chance that we just like don't get much use out of Grafdigger's Cage. But I think we'll put the Skewer on the bottom. Because we only have 1 Grafdigger's Cage in the deck, and if we don't keep it in our hand, then we're not seeing it. Because we don't have any shuffle effects in our library. So. Soulscar Mage, pass. Let's see if we draw a land. A land would be excellent. We don't. So the plan is going to be we're just going to Wizard's Lightning them. And then attack for 2. Because again, we just need to start getting their life total lower. Because if we cast the Lava Runner, it's that same deal, right? Of like we're attacking for 1, and then we're attacking for 2. Or 3 if we can get a Prowess trigger. So I think the plan is to be maybe next turn if we draw a land, we can get this Lava Runner down with haste by casting the Wild Slash. Unfortunately not. We are going to attack. And then depending on what they do, we'll just Wild Slash before damage. Okay. They have F6 through the turn, so we are going to Wild Slash them. So now we have 2 instants and sorceries in the graveyard, so that means that we can cast this Get 2 Lava Runner with haste next turn and attack for 2. Although I'm anticipating them to slam down an Uro right now. No, Anissa's Pilgrimage. They're searching for 2 forests. Okay. We definitely, we need to draw a land right now. That's what we need to do. Unfortunately not. So we're going to play this Lava Runner, and we're going to get in there for 3. Although we might be able to get there with just one land. We'll have to see what they play this turn. If they play a Nissa, that's going to be not great. Or if they play a Cavalier of Thorns, that's going to... Like, a Cavalier of Thorns would be fine, right? It's some ramp. And it is a 5/6. So we're only going to be able to get in for 2 next turn. But we can potentially deal 5 damage next turn if we can draw a second land. We got there. So actually we're going to Boros Charm, because then Wild Slash is enough for us to win the game. He's blocking the Soulscar Mage. So there's really no reason for us to Boros Charm now, because we don't need the prowess damage. And then we will just Boros Charm them on their instep. Because who knows, maybe there's some reason we need to Lightning Strike or Wild Slash. It's possible. Yeah, there's the Uro. So let's see. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if we can draw a land, we'll win the game. A land gets us there. That Yavimaya Coast is pretty rough, because then they get to escape this Uro immediately. Which we don't like. So Things are not looking good. Might have been correct to do Grafdigger's Cage Wild Slash. That might have been a more correct thing to do, but not sure how. Yeah, I think that would have been the more conservative play. Although if we do that, we're not winning. We wouldn't have been winning the game next turn. But now it's not looking like we're going to be winning the game at all. We need to draw a Chain to the Rocks right now. Chain to the Rocks is going to be one of the only ways that we win this. We're going to Lightning Strike him because I want to hang on to this Boros Charm. Wild Slash is so medium. I think we're going to pass. Double Wild Slash them. What do they got? That's a lot of mana. 8? Is this a Ballista for 4? They're attacking for 11. I see. They're probably going to activate the cat. No? Oh, they're going to wait until post-combat because then if they draw a land with Uro. Yep. We kind of have to block. We're not getting in any damage. There is an argument that maybe we should be playing Skullcrack somewhere in our 75 to kind of answer this kind of thing, right? They gain 6 life in one turn. Being able to prevent that could potentially swing the game in our favor, but it's really hard with Uro gaining 3 life on an attack trigger. What are they doing? I'm assuming this is a walking ballista. I don't know anything else that costs this much mana. Oh, I see. Casting an Ugin the Spirit Dragon. And they're getting a World Breaker, which is bad because then they'll get to exile one of our lands. Gross Spiral. Yep. We're going to play it out, but we've pretty much lost this game. I don't see much way around it. We're not drawing our Chain to the Rocks, and they're just playing these big scary things that aren't going to do anything for us. So we'll just go ahead and play this Grafdigger's Cage, just in case we don't want them to go Uro, escape Uro, but we definitely, our matchups are a little bit worse this league compared to last league for sure. It's like, yeah, I don't see what we draw to get out of this, right? Because they get to bolt us next turn with Ugin, and then even if we draw a Chain to the Rocks for Uro, they get to hit us for 8, and we're going to be at 3, so. What do they got? Is this a Ballista on 3? No, another Cavalier. All right, we're going to concede the game. All right, currently 1-2. Not off to a super great start, but if we can win rounds 4 and 5, we'll at least get to break even on tickets and earn a treasure chest or 2. I appreciate those of you sticking around. This league has been a lot less exciting than our last league where we were able to go 5-0. So I appreciate you sticking around, watching me get it handed to me. All right, we have lost the die roll. We're going to reveal our Lurrus. They Gigantha. So this could be anything. This could be Niv Mizzet, but I know that the Niv Mizzet decks are even more so running Yorion as their companion instead. So this is a great hand. We have 2 lands. We got plenty of creatures. We have things to do. We're going to keep it. And if anyone has any questions about this deck, about any Magic thing, I am always more than happy to answer questions. A Triome. So this might actually be the Niv Mizzet deck. I don't know what too many other decks that are running the Triomes. This is a Swamp Forest, but this is the Sultai Triome, so it could just be a Sultai deck that's running Gigantha for free, because I don't think there's anything out of the Sultai deck that costs double color, so it's also possible that that's what we're up against. We're just going to cast the Soulscar Mage and pass the turn. So yeah, this, and the fact that that's an Overgrown Tomb, we'll see what they play. They play a Satyr Wayfinder. This is Sultai. Okay, we're up against Sultai. So again, this is another pretty tough matchup. Uro is just such a difficult card for us to deal with, especially once they get to escape it. Which, if they cast an Uro next turn, and then have a Fabled Passage for the turn after that, then they're gonna get to escape their Uro, right? So we are definitely in a bit of a tough spot. We need to really start applying some pressure. So I think the plan is going to be, we're just going to attack. We'll see if they block. Based on if they block, we'll determine what we do. They don't block, so I think we're just gonna get in there. We are gonna Wizard's Lightning them. We're going to Wild Slash him. And then we hit him. So we already got him at 10. And good news is that now that we have 2 instants and sorceries in the yard, next turn, we're just going to go double Lava Runner and get in there. This tap land is very nice. The fact they've been playing a lot of tap lands has been nice for us. It means they don't really get to do too much. Jace VP is fine, right? This is what's going to allow them to escape their Uro even faster, even without a Fabled Passage. So if we draw a land, then we're going to light up the stage after we swing in with our Lava Runners. So we are in the position to win within the next turn or two. As long as they don't play Uro, we're in a great spot. Uro is how we're going to lose this matchup, especially since they've had an uninteractive start. They haven't been thought seizing us. They haven't been fatal pushing our creatures. They've been really slow to do anything. So if we can get a Wizard's Lightning, a Lightning Strike plus land, Eidolon. Eidolon is not that I mean, it's fine, right? Eidolon's fine. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. We have enough to, if they don't play a creature, if they spin their wheels a little bit, we'll be able to win with this Boros Charm. But we'll just have to see what they play. Fatal Push. That's okay. And an Abrupt Decay. Okay. So and then they're just going to activate their Jace VP, so that's good for us. Although, do they get to cast it without? No, they're just going to shrink our guy. Okay. I thought they were going to flash back a Fatal Push, but they do have to pay mana for it. So, Now we need to draw a Wizard's Lightning or a Lightning Strike. Oh, no. Lightning Strike doesn't quite do it. 4, 5, 6. And then that's enough prowess. Okay, we got him. So we get to attack them for 1. Or for -1. But we get to go Boros Charm them for 4. Prowess us up to 0. And then Wild Slash them to 1. And then the Prowess makes our Monastery or our Soulscar Mage a 1/4, which allows us to win the game. Okay, so this is the matchup where we are going to bring in our Grafdigger's Cage. Grafdigger's Cage stops them from escaping Uro. It stops them from flashing things back with their Jace Telepath Unbound. Stops them from... It doesn't stop them from delving, unfortunately. It doesn't stop them from anything like that, or getting to get a creature back, or get something back from the graveyard with, oh goodness, Tamio, right? Tamio doesn't allow them to... Still allows them to get their card back. But I think shutting down those two makes this good enough to bring in. Searing Blood is actually going to be decent in this matchup because they are playing their Jace Vryn's Prodigies. They are playing their Satyr Wayfinders. So being able to remove those creatures, deal damage to them, and then clear up the battlefield for us to swing in is going to be really nice. Do we want to bring in our Chain to the Rocks or our Deflecting Palm? There is an argument for Deflecting Palm, although I believe they're going to take out their Ishkanah. I don't think that Ishkanah is great in this matchup against us because it just costs too much mana and you have to have Delirium to get all the spiders. So that's probably a thing that they're taking out. I imagine they're just bringing in a ton of removal. So I think we need to cut... We got to cut 5 cards. Because really, we just need to win the game as quickly as possible. The more time we give them to spin their wheels, the quicker we are to losing. So we're going to take out 2 Boros Charms and 2 Eidolons. All of our expensive cards that kind of don't do exactly what we need. We do want to keep the Boros Charms for the utility of it. And then we'll probably take out a Pyromancer. Again, it's about us keeping the core of the deck and then trimming some of those utility cards, right? The utility cards being our Eidolons, our Boros Charms, and our others. So we are on the draw. We have 3 2-drops that we cannot cast. So we are going to mulligan this hand. Much, much, much better hand. We are going to keep this. What are we putting on the bottom? Let's see. We are keeping... We're keeping Sacred Foundry Mountain. We're keeping the Swift Spear and the Searing Blood. So it's either Skewer the Critics, Battlefield Forge, or Wild Slash that we're going to put on the bottom. We might just put the Battlefield Forge on the bottom. We don't really need 3 mana, because then it doesn't matter, right? Turn 1 Swift Spear, turn 2 maybe a Searing Blood, and then turn 3 we would go Skewer, Wild Slash, but we don't need 3 lands. So we're going to put this Battlefield Forge on the bottom. All right, tap land. That's going to be a saving grace for us in this matchup, is the fact that they play so many tap lands, right? Those Triomes, these Lumbering Falls, or lands that are going to deal them damage. So us getting to, like, essentially get a couple turns where they don't really do too much is going to help us get ahead. I'm anticipating, Satyr Wayfinder. So, like, we're going to be tempoing them out pretty hard here. We're going to hit them for 5 next turn, because we're going to Searing Blood their Satyr Wayfinder and then get in there for 2. Although there is an argument that we should go Soulscar Mage Wild Slash, but I want to bank on killing this creature this turn. We're not guaranteed for them to play a Jace Vryn's Prodigy next turn or another Satyr Wayfinder. So we're gonna take the cards that we're given. We're going to get that out of there. They're going to take it. We're going to get in there for 2. So once again, right, like, even though we are not quite as fast as, like, Modern Burn, we have them at 14, and it's their 3rd turn. We've only had 2 turns. We've already hit them for 6. Pretty good. They got a breeding pool. See, like, look, another tap land. They're just so slow, and they're so far behind on what they're trying to do. Let's look at their graveyard. What do they got? A Duress, Scavenging Ooze. I'm happy to see that in the graveyard. And a Jace VP is in the yard. All right, we're gonna be thankful that we drew another Searing Blood. Although I kind of want to get the Soulscar Mage onto the battlefield. Us just being able to consistently chip in damage, I think, is a little more important. Because if we attacked with our Swift Spear, they would just snap block with the Satyr Wayfinder. So us being able to hit them for 5, 2 turns in a row, I think is more important. We've been fortunate to dodge Uro thus far. A Jace Friend Prodigy, we're fine with that. A land. So our Get to Lava Runner does have haste. So I think the plan is going to be, we can go Lava Runner, Wild Slash the Jace VP, get in there for 4. Or we could Wild Slash the Jace VP, skewer the critics them, get in for, and then that's 3, that's 6. So that's 1 more damage. The record, we are currently 1-2. We won the mirror match, and then we lost against Boros Heroic, and we lost against Simic Ramp. And this is currently match 4. We are up a game against Sultai. I think that's gonna be the plan. We're gonna cast this Get to Lava Runner. We're gonna Wild Slash the Jace VP, and then we're gonna get in for 4. Okay, they're gonna Abrupt Decay something. Okay, that's fine. We're not mad at that. If we can draw a 3rd land, we'll finally deploy this Soulscar Mage. Because we definitely need to close out the game very, very fast. Okay. Okay, they play nothing. It's beneficial because it means they don't have Uro, they don't have anything that's going to stop us, but it means they probably just have a bunch of interactions. So we get the 3rd land. Okay, we're going to attack. Because if we can turn on Spectacle for both of these cards, that's going to be excellent. Oh, he's going to animate the Lumbering Falls. Ooh. That's not good. I didn't see that. Okay, so they're just gonna block and kill our guy, which is not great. We walked into that one. I should have been paying. I should have not forgotten about the Lumbering Falls. Question is, do we play Soulscar Mage Pass? Right, and then hope that we can draw a Wizard's Lightning or something like that to close out the game? Or do we just cast this, light up the stage, and hope that we get a couple more 1-mana instants, so then we can maybe chain together Wild Slash, Skewer the Critics, something like that? I don't know. That's tough. Because if they're just going to animate this Lumbering Falls every turn, that's fine for us. So we're going to cast the Soulscar Mage and then pass the turn. Maybe by them thinking that we don't have anything in hand, we can get them to maybe overextend, tap out for something, tap out for a Planeswalker, and then we'll quickly turn the corner by going Soulscar Mage, Skewer the Critics, light up the stage. I don't like this. Oh, they're playing their Gigantha. Okay. Eidolon, a little too late. we're going to light up the stage. Or we could cast the Eidolon of the Great Revel. If they cast a removal spell, or if they cast anything, they go to 5. Which then means Skewer the Critics plus Wild Slash gets there. Or if they don't, and they don't kill our guys, then we get to attack. Guaranteed damage to activate Spectacle. So I think the Eidolon is what we're going to play. And then good news is that we were on the draw of this game, so even if they are able to get us, we'll be on the play for Game 3, which will be excellent. Right, so the big thing is we're just hoping to dodge Uro. As long as we don't see Uro, we can eventually get there and win the game. But if they slam down an Uro at pretty much any point, it's going to be really tough for us to win the game. Because right now they have the potential to go Uro escape Uro, right? Which we don't want. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Yeah, so like they have the potential to just play any 2 lands, or any land, play Uro, escape Uro. So okay, goes to our turn. Another light up the stage. Let's see, 6. 3. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to, even though we could hard cast one of these, we're just going to swing in. Because either they cast something and take 2 damage, so then our Spectacle is turned on, or they don't cast something, and then we get to hit them for 2. We're in a good spot. What are they playing? Oh, are they going to play a removal spell and eat to extinction? Yikes. Okay, so I think what we may do is we may just hard cast this light up the stage. We can't afford to keep spinning our wheels. They're not in a position to win the game, but if we can go light up the stage into... That's rough. That's really rough. So we have the burn spells to get them there. We need to... Well, here's what we could do. We could go Lightning Strike, Spectacle, Skewer the Critics. Uh-oh. Okay. I like see them tap 4 mana, and I feel better about it than them tapping 3 mana. Oh, do they have an Uro in the graveyard? Dang it. Ugh. That's bad. That's really bad. So now we can't win the game next turn, and we're in a bad spot. We need to draw a... Did we bring in Chain to the Rocks? I don't know if we did. Let's check our sideboard. We did not bring in our Chain to the Rocks. We are in trouble. That's probably going to spell the end of us, because if them gaining 3 life every turn is not going to be looking too good for us. Lava Runner is fine, because what we get to do is we get to cast it, go Wizards, Lightning, Skewer the Critics. You know what? We're actually going to cast this light up the stage, because hitting them to 4 just for them to... Cool. Sacred Foundry will shock this in. And then we will Skewer the Critics them. So fortunately, us just like doing these burn spells back to back to back is pretty good. Because what it means is they have to attack with their Uro next turn. And if they do, then we're in a pretty solid spot to win the game from there. If we can... Oh, that's a punt. I need to remember what is being exiled and what is not. So now we're in a much tougher spot. Because we can hit him back to 4. If we draw a Boros Charm will win us the game, right? Because they'll gain 3, go up to 7. We'll Boros Charm them down to 3, Skewer the Critics them to 0. Consequently, another light up the stage would be fine. Because we could hard cast the Skewer the Critics, cast the light up the stage. That's pretty... So they have a follow-up play right here. Or no, we have to block, otherwise we die. I guess we're gonna block the Uro. So we need to pray for a Boros charm right now. Okay, never mind. We lose the game. They're going to be at 10. And if they draw another land that is a green or blue source, then they're going to escape that Uro, and then there's no way that we can win. All we can do now is, like, not die for a couple turns, because we can go Lurrus, get back a 1-drop. Okay. Oh, but they're not shocking in the Watery Grave, so. What do we draw? Mountain. Okay. They got it. Let's go to game 3. So maybe there is an argument to us bringing in 1 to 2 Chain to the Rocks, or like bringing in this deflecting palm. We came off to a really hot start, but we definitely made a couple play mistakes, attacking into kind of being over aggressive with our attacks, and we allowed them to blow us out with eating a creature removal spell, and then that stalled us just long enough for them to start getting value with their Uros and getting their life total out of lethal range. So, like, if we had attacked a little bit smarter, we might have won that game. So maybe we don't need these Chain to the Rocks. It's just, it's one of those things where it's like we don't want them escaping their Uro at all. So, like, Grafdigger's Cage is pretty good there, because if they have escaped Uro, they've already gained 6 life. So Chain to the Rocks is just kind of like stemming the bleeding, versus Grafdigger's Cage is a little bit more proactive. Maybe deflecting palm, right? If we got to deflect one of those Uros last turn, that could have changed everything, but we're going to run it back like this. We're going to be on the play. So see, that might have been part of it too, right? If we were on the play that game, I think we could have won that game. This is slow. It is very, very slow. We're casting something turn 2. But we do have a Searing Blood, so we can Pyromancer on turn 2, Searing Blood on turn 3, plus Skewer the Critics or Wild Slash. So we'll keep it, because we have 2 white sources for our Lurrus. And maybe they're in the tank, so their hand is probably a little suspect. Me just trying to infer information based on. So we're going to play this Mountain and pass the turn. There is maybe an argument that we should just like Sacred Foundry tapped, but I want to hold up this Wild Slash just in case. Ooh, I like that. That means they have a Fatal Push in hand, right? They're not Thought Seizing me, so they have a Fatal Push. We're going to Wild Slash him. Inspiring Vantage is a nice one. And we're going to play our Pyromancer, right? We're fine with Pyromancer dying because we've already dealt 2 damage to them. And it's better for us to kind of play something than not, right? Although there is an argument to maybe we hold up Searing Blaze, and if they play a Satyr Wayfinder, then we get to Searing Blood it, and then we've blanked their Fatal Push, but it's not like they're not just going to cast the Fatal Push on the next turn anyway. We're going to shock in the Sacred Foundry just because I would rather take 2 now than take 1 over the next couple turns. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to Searing Blood that Satyr Wayfinder. We are going to Spectacle Bolt them. We could, depending on what we draw, we could cast Lurrus next turn, but we don't get to cast anything off of the Lurrus because our only permanent's the Pyromancer. So that might not be our best play, especially if they have removal. Although they missed their 3rd land drop. Or they didn't get a card off of the... Okay, they got a Overgrown Tomb, so they are hitting their 3rd land drop. The best thing for us to get would be either a Grafdigger's Cage to stop them from escaping this Uro, or like another Searing Blood would be fine too. Wizard's Lightning. So, Wizard's Lightning is interesting. So we could cast the Wizard's Lightning, put him to 3, and that makes it where a good top deck could win us the game. If they don't drop another blue source next turn, they're not going to get to escape this Uro. So that's the thing. How proactive do we want to be? What we could do is we could Lightning them and set us up potentially to win on the next turn, right? Or we could escape our Lurrus. And with the escape, and if we go Lurrus this turn, they don't kill it. We then get to go get back a Pyromancer, Wizard's Lightning for 1, and then if we draw another 1-drop, cast that. And that could put us in a good spot to win the game, because then we get to attack for 3, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to play a Sacred Foundry tapped, and we're going to go with the Wizard's Lightning plan. I like the idea of us holding up interaction and just like putting us in the best potential chance to win, right? We're like, if they play a blue source, we're in a rough spot because them escaping this Uro is bad. But if we can set ourselves up to just win the game, that's going to be a whole lot better for us. Right, that's kind of the idea is we're putting us in a spot to be lucky, but we're making our decisions to better benefit from that luck, if that makes sense. So they're going to get an island, and we're going to be seeing this Uro. Yep, okay. So this puts us in a bit of a tough spot. It's so hard for us to answer an escaped Uro. We just didn't get the Grafdigger's Cage in time. What do we want to draw? Because they're going to be at 6. It's like light up the stage into double, I don't know, something, right? We're going to cast this Lurrus. Or we're going to play the Pyromancer. We're going to hit him for 2. Put him to 4. Pass the turn. So they're going to be at 7. They're going to be at 7, but we can hit them for 4, right? Because they won't be able to block something, right? And then, we need to draw a Boros Charm. Boros Charm would be a better draw for us right now, right? Getting to hit him for 6 with just instant speed damage. What we could do is we could block, recast the Pyromancer. That's 2 damage. And then if we do draw Boros Charm, we win the game. Or we could attack with the Pyromancer, and then based on if they block it, we'll recast it. If they don't block it, they get hit for 2. So we're just going to take 6 here. But we need to not brick. We need to draw a burn spell. If we draw a land or if we draw a Soul Scar Mage, we're going to be in a very, very tough spot. Like, we need to draw a Wizard's Lightning, a Light Up the Stage, a Boros Charm. We need to draw one of our direct damage spells. I know, Meatball. We're in a tough spot, aren't we? All right, they're casting something. If it's another Uro, if they're going to like cast Uro, possibly escape Uro, we're... Oof, Abrupt Decay on the Lurrus. That's pretty bad. It's not the worst thing, right? So we're a Boros Charm away from... Well, no, a Boros Charm doesn't get us there. Boros Charm puts him to 1. And it looks like they're going to remove our Pyromancer. Scavenging Ooze. All right. We need to draw something good. Yes, Soulscar Mage is not good enough. Well, we have to kill the Scavenging Ooze, right? Scavenging Ooze and Uro ends the game for us. So we're gonna Wild Slash the Scavenging Ooze, and we have to pass the turn. Unfortunately, this one is like now we're top decking, and they're gaining 3 life every turn, which blanks our draw, right? Any spell we draw now is going to be dealing 0 damage net, right? Or if we draw Boros Charm, 1 damage. So we're not in a good spot. Yep, Fatal Push. Okay. Yeah, all right. I think that's going to do it. There's nothing we can. Yeah, they're going to be at 12. We can't kill the Scavenging Ooze anymore. That's going to do it. Yeah, Mountain. All right. They win the game. Really rough league this time. So we are 1-3 going into round number 5. If we can win match 5, we'll get a couple tickets back to kind of reimburse our entry. And if we lose, we get nothing. So definitely a little bit more rough this time around. I would really like to thank the people that are still sticking around, even though we're not on the same hot streak that we were on last time. I put in underneath the stream, there should be an embedded window of my Twitter feed. And over there on Twitter, I put up a poll for decks to stream in the future. All the ones that are on there are the decks that I feel pretty competent playing, ones that I think I can play pretty well. But if you have a suggestion of a deck that you would like for me to stream, let me know. You can reply to that poll, and if I think the list is neat enough or would be fun, I can definitely play it. All right. Going into match 5. We won the die roll. 60 card deck for our opponent. We are up against blue-white control, which is a good matchup for us. So hopefully we get to end strong. We have creatures, which is the bane of blue-white control. So we're going to keep this hand. Especially on the play, we're going to get to come out really, really fast. We are going to Inspiring Vantage, Soulscar Mage. Although there is, I think we're going to play this Eidolon on turn 2, actually, because with them being on turn 1, they're going to get an opt, maybe. Irrigated Farmland, right? So we're going to slam down this Eidolon, and they get to cast nothing without paying damage for it, or without taking damage, so. Very strong start for our game 1. And then I think next turn, depending on what we draw, we're just going to empty out our hand. A Sacred Foundry. So, we're going to go to combat. Because they might have an Azorius Charm or something. They might try to put the Eidolon back on top. And if we do, we're going to let it happen. Then cast our Wild Slash, then cast our Lava Runners to save ourselves some damage. Not that our life total is super duper important, but just trying to play efficiently. Hitting to 13. They don't get to Supreme Verdict next turn, so I feel fine slamming down these Lava Runners. Okay. And they just concede to the Lava Runner, right? Because next turn we're going to get in for at least 6. And all right. We got him. All right, so what's coming out and what's coming in? I feel pretty good. Like, none of these cards I really want to bring in. Chain of the Rocks does nothing, right? Unless they bring in Dream Trawler, right? There's a solid chance they bring in Dream Trawler, so Chain of the Rocks is fine for that. Searing Blood does nothing. Deflecting Palm does nothing. Wear Tear does nothing really. Grafdigger's, yeah, we're just gonna run this. We're gonna run the same 60 back. Like, this is a pretty good 60 for blue-white control. Let's see if they reveal. They bring in the Dream Trawlers, because if you notice, they did not reveal their cat companion. This is a fine hand. We get to go turn 1 Soulscar Mage and turn 2 get moving. We have a white source. We have a red source. So feeling pretty good about it. An irrigated farmland. That's nice. And an Inspiring Vantage. So we now have both Lurrus mana, and we have things to do on the first 2 turns that aren't going to deal damage to us. Hollowed Fountain tapped. That's nice. Lightning Strike. I think the plan is going to be, we're going to get in there, but do we want to like try to double spell maybe? Maybe we can Wild Slash Skewer the Critics or Wild Slash Light Up the Stage. I think we're going to hang on to the Light Up the Stage actually, just because like we have so many burn spells in our hand that like I just want to dump out our hand that way. So I think we will go, what do they have? What costs 1 mana? I think it's like Opt, right? Opt or Cycle Sensor. It's next turn we have to worry about, because then they can absorb. Yeah, there's the Opt. And they are putting a card on the top. So they drew something good. We currently have 6 damage in hand. Possible 9 if we get to hit with our Soulscar Mage. Alright, the plan next turn, unless we draw a one CMC spell, I think it's going to be Lightning Strike, Light Up the Stage, attack for 3. Get 2 Lava Runner does change that. Play the Forge. We're going to play the Lava Runner, and then we're going to attack. And if they don't like Azorius Charm or Soulscar Mage, we'll just Lightning Strike. All right, we're going to Lightning Strike them. Try to get in that extra prowess damage. Although I imagine a counterspell is heading our way. Absorb is the best one, right? It essentially blanks. Like, they took 1 damage this turn. Because they gained 3, stopped our Lightning Strike, and then we dealt 4 to them. So let's see if they cast a Supreme Verdict. Teferi Time Raveler. That is just... So, yeah, that's the correct choice, right? Get our Soulscar Mage out of there. All right, I think we're going to attack for 2. Because Soulscar Mage will be summoning sick. We're going to attack them because I want to turn on Spectacle for this Light Up the Stage. Mountain, get 2 Lava Runners. So we'll play the Mountain off of Exile. No sense in... I mean, like, Yeah, there's no sense in casting this Get to Lava Runner. So we'll just go Soulscar Mage. And 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. We'll have 2 mana. So we pretty much get to cast everything. No matter what we draw, we're pretty much guaranteed to cast it. So no sense in opening up this Lava Runner to a Supreme Verdict, and there's no real need to Lightning Strike right now because we're only going to be dealing 3 damage, not getting any benefit off of it from the prowess or anything. So we're trying to shield ourselves from being blown out by Supreme Verdict and trying to like maximize the amount of damage that we can deal. Although the fact that they ticked up on Teferi and passed the turn means they probably just have Supreme Verdict anyway. So we're going to Lightning Strike them. Pay 2. Because either they counter this or they Supreme Verdict. They don't get to do both. Absorb. We're actually okay with that. We are going to get this Teferi off of the board just because them getting to instant speed Supreme Verdict is pretty bad for us. It allows them to, like, it means that we can't cast Lurrus next turn because we have to worry about, oh, Lurrus, get back a creature, it all gets Verdict away. Okay. And they just concede, so. All right. We got 50 play points, so we got a rebate for our league. Not the best league for us. We went 2-3. Let's review our matchup. So round 1, we played against the Boros heroic deck. That matchup really just came down to who could answer whose creatures, and they were, unfortunately, we were not able to answer their creatures, so they were able to run away with the game. We played against the mirror match against Lurrus Burn. That one worked out pretty well for us. We were able to, again, do the same type of deal, right? We were able to grind them out. We made them use their burn spells in hand to get rid of our creatures, and we were just able to keep that up longer than they could remove our things, and then we were able to take over the game that way. Rounds 3 and 4 against Sultai, the Sultai mid-range deck, as well as what did we play against round 3? It was an Uro deck. Oh, Simic Ramp. Both of those matchups came down to Uro, right? Uro, I think, is like the boogeyman for this deck, right? It is our kryptonite because there's so much value that comes off of Uro, and the gaining 3 life for the most part is pretty incidental for most decks, but against us, it blanks everything we're doing. So both of those matchups came down to them being able to escape Uro, us not having an answer for it, and that taking over the game. And then round 5 against Blue-White Control, we did the thing, right? We came out very aggressive starts. They didn't have verdicts to answer our creatures, and we won the game that way. So overall, we had some tougher matchups this time as opposed to last time. So that is that. Let's see. We have been out this for a little over about 2 hours. I'm feeling pretty good though. Depends on what other people would like. We could play some more games with this. I could go over to something else, or we could just call it there. Again, in the description for this stream, there should be a embedded link to my Twitter. I would highly recommend following me over there. You can see, I'll be posting things about the streams, as well as kind of allowing you guys to give me some feedback on stuff. All of the VODs for all of my streams will be posted on the YouTube channel. Again, there'll be a link to that in the description for this stream. But yeah, I think that is going to do it for right this second. I'm going to probably see about playing another deck maybe. So I will be right back.